The nightmare of Jamie from Alabama. Jamie was no ordinary man. Born and raised in the heart of Alabama, he was a thrill seeker, always chasing danger for the adrenaline rush it gave him. When he announced to his friends and family that he was traveling to Nepal to conquer Mount Everest, they half laughed, half worried. "You'll be fine," he said with his usual cocky grin. Nothing scares Jamie. But Everest was not like the other challenges he had faced. The climb wasn't just about battling the elements or testing his physical limits. It turned out to be a journey into something far darker, something that would haunt him forever. The climb begins. On the third day of his ascent, the winds howled around him like the screams of tortured souls. The sky was an eerie gray, and the biting cold seeped into his bones despite his high-tech gear. Jamie dismissed the odd feeling in his gut, attributing it to the altitude. As he climbed further, he noticed something peculiar in the distance. Hovering just above the ridge ahead was a metallic, disc-shaped object. It was silent, yet its presence felt deafening, like an unspoken warning. Jamie froze, his breath forming clouds in the icy air. The object tilted slightly, reflecting a strange green light that seemed to pulse rhythmically. It wasn't a drone. It wasn't a helicopter. It was something else. The wolf-headed men. Before Jamie could make sense of the sight, he heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, crunching in the snow behind him. He spun around. There they were, 3 figures, tall and menacing, with the bodies of men but the heads of wolves. Their fur was black as coal, their eyes glowed an unnatural yellow, and their mouths hung open, revealing rows of jagged teeth dripping with something dark and viscous. Jamie's heart pounded like a drum. "What the hell are you?" he whispered, his voice trembling. The figures didn't speak. They moved closer, their claws glinting in the faint light. Jamie stumbled backward, almost losing his footing. He turned to run, but the snow beneath him gave way, sending him tumbling down a small slope. When he stopped, his head was spinning and the world felt distorted, like he was trapped in some horrific dream. The UFO's intent. As he tried to regain his composure, the metallic object descended, hovering just feet above him. A beam of green light shot out, enveloping him in its glow. He felt an intense pressure in his skull, as though something was probing his mind, searching, digging, trying to extract his thoughts. The pain was unbearable. Jamie screamed, clutching his head, but his voice was drowned out by a low, vibrating hum that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Your brain is ours," a voice echoed in his mind, cold and mechanical. "No!" Jamie shouted, thrashing wildly. The beam intensified, and he felt as if his very essence was being torn apart. The descent into madness. Just when he thought he couldn't take it anymore, the light vanished and the object shot upward into the clouds with impossible speed. Jamie lay in the snow, gasping for air, his vision blurry. But the nightmare wasn't over. The wolf-headed men were back, standing in a circle around him. They began to chant in a language he couldn't understand, their guttural voices reverberating through the mountains. The ground beneath him started to crack, revealing an abyss of swirling shadows. From the darkness, grotesque hands reached out, long skeletal fingers clawing at the air, trying to pull him in. "Leave me alone," Jamie screamed, tears streaming down his face. The figures laughed, a deep guttural sound that chilled him to his core, the awakening. And then he was falling, down, down, down into the void, the hands grabbing at his limbs, the laughter echoing around him, the green light flashing in his eyes. He hit the ground with a thud and bolted upright, drenched in sweat. Jamie was in his bed. The familiar hum of his fan filled the room. It was dark, but safe. He clutched his chest, trying to steady his breathing. "A dream," he whispered to himself. "It was just a dream." But as he turned to reach for a glass of water on his nightstand, he froze. There, on his arm, was a burn mark in the shape of a wolf's claw.